I would maximize the use of our ballistic missile defense capability. I would double the number of ballistic missile defense capable ships that are Aegis warships and strategically place them in the world. Iran understands only two things: economic pressure and our military might.
All right,
and
so
we
you're
have
going to put the warships in the Persian Gulf because they'll attack them. You know they're going to try to do something if you do that, put them there.
That would be perfectly all right, because I believe that we have a superior capability.
Oh, you would knock them, but then you're a shooting war with Iran. You really want that?
Well, I don't want that, Bill, but if they fire first, we're going to defend ourselves and defend our enemies, and they are no match for our warships.
But isn't that a provocation if you would put warships off their coast?
No, they've already announced that they're going to put their ships off our coast in international waters. That's not a provocation.
No?
I don't think there's any question. That's what Paul Ryan, that's what they do all day. They look at the numbers and they look at policy. I don't think Herman Cain does that quite as much, although he did meet with Henry Kissinger yesterday in one of the great staged photos of all time. I think we'll show that a little bit later. But on your enthusiasm question, where you saw 60%, there's the photograph right there. They got together. They're just two guys rapping about foreign policy, trying to figure out when China's going to get those nukes.
Well, that's why I went there.
Hey.
He said, I understand they are trying to develop.
Henry Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger. I was just thinking, imagine if we could open up China and an American president could go visit.
Somebody sent me a bumper sticker.
What would that be like?
What was the thing my dad said?
He sees a world where there are McDonald's in China. No, that's right.
Stumbling towards accuracy.
China.
Yes.
Do you view China as a potential military threat to the United States?
I do view China as a potential military threat to the United States.
And what could you do as president to head that off?
My China strategy is quite simply outgrow China. It gets back to economics. China has a $6 trillion economy, and they're growing at approximately 10%. We have a $14 trillion economy, much bigger, but we're growing at an anemic 1.5, 1.6%. When we get our economy growing back at the rate of 5 or 6% that it has the ability to do, we will outgrow China. And secondly, we already have superiority in terms of our military capability, and I plan to get away from cutting our defense a priority and make investing in our military capability a priority, going back to my statement, peace through strength and clarity. So yes, they're a military threat. They've indicated that they're trying to develop nuclear capability, and they want to develop more aircraft carriers like we have. So yes, we have to consider them a military threat.
I'm not worried about any of the folks that I'm running against. Least of all, Ron Paul, whose campaign sends one of its Paulites everywhere I show up. Clearly the intent is to agitate, not to educate. They do that because they are threatened by me and have made a conscious effort to try to discredit me and bring me down by always bringing up the same issue, the Federal Reserve. They're trying to destroy me on the fact that I was once affiliated with that body, and they've generated a lot of animosity toward it, some of it warranted. Some of it not warranted, based upon some things I've said about the Federal Reserve. In doing so, however, they've stretched the truth, saying that I did not want the Federal Reserve to be audited. I have never said that. I have said, I don't think you're going to find anything to audit on the Federal Reserve. But they want you to believe that Herman Cain doesn't want the Federal Reserve to be audited. I get the same stupid question at almost every one of these events. I know it's a deliberate strategy. How can a person randomly show up at 100 events and ask the same stupid question to try to nail me on the Federal Reserve? It's really becoming annoying more than anything else. But I've got news for those Paulites. It's not going to work because the American people are a lot smarter than they are. That's what I'm seeing around the country.
So I guess I would say this, how do you reassure voters that despite all the experience you're running on in the business community, your time on the Fed, you missed the housing bubble and you missed the economic collapse?
Well, it's real simple, Chuck. I have economic advisors working with me now who spend time studying these various analyses. When I wrote those papers, I was only responding to reports that I, like everybody else, was getting through the media, those kind of public reports. I wouldn't.
Which turned out to be right, by the way. You were criticizing those reports, but they turned out to be right.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is I will have people around me who are going to help me do deeper analyses on some of these things, okay? So, yeah, I missed some of these things. I'm not perfect. I'm very quick to say I made a mistake or I missed it, but I didn't have sophisticated analyses helping me to draw the conclusions that I was drawing at that time. And remember, I have admitted the housing bubble and the economic meltdown of 2008, it was much worse than I ever realized until the Lehman Brothers situation started and until more and more was revealed about the depth of the problems at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I admit I didn't know all of the details about those situations.